What is good, everyone? Welcome to this absolutely stunningly beautiful day in Japan. We have Mount Fuji up ahead, and that's the idea. Driving video today so we can enjoy views of the mountain while I talk about this week's topic. This week's topic is actually one that was suggested by viewers. I put out a video a couple of weeks ago asking for topic ideas and questions because I was having a really busy week and couldn't put out a normal video. And so today the topic that a couple people mentioned was life as an academic, or teaching in academia, in the university teaching scene in Japan, what it's like. And I want to give some details about that today, so I hope you enjoy this topic. Remember to drop a like if you enjoy this topic, or just a like for beautiful Mount Fuji gracing us with her presence. And also subscribe if you haven't already. I put out a new video about Japanese society, life, and culture, living here as a foreigner, every Friday. And as such, I have a lot of past content, and look for my future content as well. And of course, in the comments below, if you want, please put a suggestion. Put your own topic ideas. I'm always open to ideas. I want to hear what you would like me to talk about. So without further ado, let's get into today's topic, which is life as an academic in Japan. Let's go. Mount Fuji is going to come in and out of the trees as we drive up this mountain pass. In the meantime, I'm going to tell you, first of all, starting off with why I ended up on this life path to begin with. I always wanted to be a teacher. I'm a trained teacher in the States. I came to Japan on an exchange teaching program known as the JET program, which stands for Japan Exchange Teaching Program. And basically, as that program's time limit was coming to a close, I needed to consider how I was going to stay in Japan. Because at that point, I was like, I want to stay in Japan. I want to continue teaching here. I'm enjoying my life here. I'm not ready to go back to the States. So I looked into what are the genuine career path possibilities for staying in Japan. And basically, if I wanted to make a decent salary and something that I felt I could support a family on, I needed to get away from the assistant language teacher positions in public schools and English conversation school positions, which typically pay between $2,000 to $3,000 a month, or about Niju Sanman, 230,000 yen to Sanjuman, and 300,000 yen. I didn't think that was going to be sufficient, so university jobs by and large pay quite a bit more than that. They tend to start from the 4 million yen a year, so $40,000 a year amount, and on up, depending on the position. And of course, there's different types of positions. I did a whole video about getting a university job in Japan and the different types of positions and what kind of qualifications you need for said positions. I did a whole video about that. I will put that in the description to this video, so please check that out. I will try not to repeat too many things in this video that I say there, but I do need to say that the first bit of research I did, I realized I need a master's degree if I want to compete for Japanese university jobs. Now, to be clear, those Japanese university jobs are not professor track, tenure track jobs at all. They're generally getting jobs in English centers, English programs where you're kind of an adjunct lecturer, faculty member, and there really isn't a path for you to become a assistant or associate or full professor in the university. You're basically either a part-time instructor or you're relegated to limited term contracts, which are typically 2 to 5 years depending on the institution. And so while I do know plenty of people who have worked their entire careers or are working their entire careers in this system, I don't think I could deal with that existential dread every few years for the entirety of my career that, oh, now I have to go look for the next contract job because this one's about to expire. And that's the main reason I started my PhD in addition to my master's. My master's is in applied linguistics, and you need a master's in either applied linguistics or more likely TESOL, or teaching English as a second language. It's really not possible anymore to get a tenure track job with only a master's. A few decades ago, that was possible. I know some people here who are nearing retirement who are master's degree holders, and they got their tenure 20, 25, 30 years ago. That just doesn't happen in this day and age. Unless you are one of those rare lottery winners who just happens to have the absolute perfect connections and the absolute perfect timing. I know one such person who lucked into a professor job with only a master's, but don't count on it. I'm certainly not counting on it. I'm not, I have no hope in my case that would be possible. In addition to the teaching, of course, you are not expressly supposed to do research, but if you want to compete for these contract jobs every few years, having more publications, more evidence of professional development on your resume than other candidates is going to become pretty necessary. So even if your job doesn't require you to do research of any type, your job hunting will. And certainly in my case, I reached a crossroads where it was either I need to become a serious researcher and go for research grants on what I know already, or join a PhD program. And I did the latter, and I don't have any regrets about that for my particular situation. My only advice when it comes to doing a PhD program is you have to really want to do it. I would never encourage or discourage anyone from a PhD program. My only bit of advice is to say you have to want to do it. It has to be something that you're really dedicated to completing, because if you do it just because it seems like, oh, if I do it, then I'll help my career out and I'll be able to muddle through it.
Right curve ahead.
Thank you, car. Yeah, that's not a good reason to do a PhD. I was ready for it, though, in my mind, and I'm enjoying the experience thus far. It is possible with a PhD to compete for full-on professor jobs in Japanese universities. Of course, it is much better if you have Japanese language ability along with that, not to mention prior experience teaching in Japanese universities. But neither of them are strictly necessary, and it is possible to come to Japan as a visiting scholar and get temporary positions here if you want to come here from the States or from wherever you happen to be at current, and you already have a PhD. But connections are a big deal here, and I'm doing my PhD through a Japanese institution precisely for that reason. The choices, of course, are distance PhDs, or leaving the country and doing a PhD, or doing a PhD with a university in Japan. I decided on the last option because, well, my advisor and the people in my department are, I believe, more well equipped to help me find positions after I graduate. They have connections, they have colleagues, and they know the game far better than I do, and far better than I think I would be able to find if I was doing a distance degree. But of course, again, that's probably not for everyone. As for the research side of things, if you are new to Japan, if you are new to the research here, if you're fresh out of your master's degree program, I highly encourage you to join some kind of professional society. And the most obvious one to start is the Japan Association of Language Teaching, or JELT. They are a really large organization. They have chapters all across Japan. They have events all the time. Chapter events typically happen once a month or every other month, depending on the size of the chapter. And they have a national conference every year, and they have a couple other national events that are associated with the JELT name throughout the year. So I say it's a good place to start because you're going to meet a lot of other people like you. You're going to meet a lot of other sort of adjunct English faculty. It's a great place to do your first experiences giving research presentations, and publishing in some of the GELT publication. There's some low-hanging fruit when it comes to publications you can get through GELT, and it's a great way to start in your presentation and publication career. And they also have research grants that a lot of people don't take advantage of. Actually, they have, I think, it's like $3 to $5, $2,000 or the Japanese yen, 200,000 yen equivalent grants on a yearly basis, and they usually get only a handful of applicants. So if you have research and you need money to do that research, and as most adjunct faculty in English programs in Japan know, you don't get much institutional support. My institution doesn't support me for my research funds. They will pay for me to go to one conference a year that's in the country. Like, they don't pay for anything international, and they don't pay for memberships. So I was paying for my GELT membership back in the day out of pocket. I do want to emphasize it's kind of a good place for beginners, and I think once you make friends and connections, it's nice to continue attending events and meeting those people. But I want to be perfectly honest about two things. One is the level of research you see and experience at a lot of the GELT events is fair. It's not really at an international peer-reviewed journal level, however. So it's beginner to intermediate level research, and that's something I didn't really understand until I started my PhD program and was basically bludgeoned over the head with this is what research really is. And I was like, wow, what I was doing for GELT back in the day was not on the same level, to say the least. That's not to knock what goes on in GELT. In fact, a lot of GELT is teachers helping teachers, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I got a lot of good practical things about teaching out of that. But in terms of hardcore research into linguistics, second language acquisition, and those sorts of fields, pragmatics, etc., there are other associations that might be better to join. The second thing about GELT is if you go to the events, you'll quickly realize that it's about 80 to 90% foreign teachers and 10 to 20% Japanese professors or teachers. And if you go to another organization known as JACET, J-A-C-E-T, or the Japan Association of College English Teachers, the ratio is completely flipped. You've got about 80 to 90% Japanese professors and teachers to like 10 to 20% foreign teachers. And I'm being fast and loose with these percentages. I don't hold me to those percentages. It's really just about. Now, what that means, however, is that GELT, you're going to meet a lot of people like you, adjunct faculty, people who aren't really in the control positions in the university. You're not really going to meet the people who are responsible for hiring, firing, setting curriculums, purchasing textbooks, that sort of thing. You're going to find more of those people at JACET. So if you're really serious about the networking end of things and trying to further your career by meeting the right people to find the right jobs, JACET might be a better bet. There are a number of organizations besides JACET and GELT that you can join, and those are Japan-based organizations. There's like the Linguistic Society of Japan, there's the Japan Second Language Acquisition Association. I was a member of that one for a few years, and that one was actually pretty good in that they got a lot of second language researchers from around the world, so labs in Europe and the States that would come and present their research at the Japan JSLA event. GELT, although it's an international conference, aside from getting special guests from abroad for plenary talks, typically GELT was residents of Japan doing presentations for the most part. Not a lot of researchers coming from abroad for GELT events. I think not so much for JACET either. Those two organizations tend to be kind of a in Japan focus group. But JSLA and Linguistic Society, there's also like Linguistic Society of Kansai, there's Pragmatics Association, there's various different organizations you can join. Some of them have their own grant systems that they can award you money for doing research. But if you really want to get into research and have research as a feather in your cap, as a good line to have on your resume, then you should start to think about applying for the Japanese government grants, the Monbu Kagakusho or Monbusho Kakenhi grants. Kakenhi is basically government grants that you can get for a variety of different research. And if you have those on your resume, universities get excited about that if they're going to hire you, because you've proven you have a level of research and that you can get grants, which is a boon for the university as well as, you getting money for your research. So applying for those, it's not easy. They're pretty competitive. There are a lot of people who apply, and you're not guaranteed of getting one, but you're guaranteed of getting some help in your career, and certainly money-wise if you are granted one. So applying is definitely a good idea. I have not personally applied yet because, as I mentioned before, I reached that kind of crossroads where I was like, do I apply for Kakenhi and try to advance my research career by myself, or do I go the PhD route? And I went the PhD route, and I've gotten in-house academic support through that program, thankfully. I've done a couple presentations abroad, and my program helped pay for those. Since my work institution does not help pay for those. Poopy. Anyway, so the research side of things, again, you don't have to do it if you're happy to sort of jump from position to position, and if you are set up with a semi-permanent position. A lot of part-time jobs will just, if you have like part-time jobs set up for all the different days of the week, most of those jobs just keep you in perpetuity. There's no like cancellation of your contract, generally speaking. You just keep working those days forever and ever. I've been in one part-time position now for over 10 years, and there was never any talk of, I don't even really sign a contract for that. They just ask me come like November of the year, do I want to continue from April of next year? And I say yes, and then it just I get my login and password to the system cleared, and then I'm continuing to teach there. It's pretty easy. So if you've got a bunch of those set up, then you don't really have to worry about research. But if you want to keep your resume and professional development up to date, and if you really want to try to advance your career beyond those contract positions, research becomes important. So start off with JALT, probably do JASIT as well. Look into these more like research-oriented associations like Japan Second Language Acquisition Group and places like that, and of course international societies as well. Highly recommended. But if anything, JALT is also a good place to find other people with like-minded interests for research, and you can pair up and do research with them. So Japan's going to offer a variety of different situations. Some places will give you institutional support for research. I almost left my current job a few years ago because another place offered me frankly a lower salary, but a couple of $1,000s a year for research, and I thought, well, that could do a lot for advancing my career as opposed to just getting a little bit extra in salary. So you have these different considerations you might have to make. Also, you might be paying out of pocket for these associations that you join, but in the end it's probably a good idea to do so. You have all these different things to weigh as you consider your situation. Being an academic in Japan also tends to relegate where you can live in Japan, because there's a lot of lovely, beautiful places in Japan where you could live, but there's no universities, or the university teaching is very limited. Like, I would love to move to Hokkaido, to be perfectly honest. I would love to live and teach in Hokkaido, but the Hokkaido university jobs that are genuinely tenure track for foreigners are kind of few and far between, whereas I'm more likely to light into those types of things in the Kanto area, so Tokyo, Yokohama, Saitama, Chiba, all the universities that are piled into this area. basically chances are better. But if you're young and you're not married, or you don't have a lot of, things to tie you down, you will have a little more flexibility, and there's a lot of great places out in the countryside where you can work for a few years and build experience and have really interesting living experiences while you're there. I think I've made it clear on this channel before that I would really kind of like to be out of the big cities, to be perfectly honest, but feel kind of forced in it for the career path that I've chosen. I guess I've spoken about a number of things now, namely research and degrees and the types of jobs and a few of the associations that you can join. In general, it's kind of nice to be able to tell people you work at a university. So there is a little bit of that factor. You have a little bit of prestige if you care about that sort of thing. Since I am essentially a student again, though, I don't I don't really get that sense of prestige, because I realize that I have a long way to go to actually prove myself as being a genuine academic and worthy of any kind of professor track job. So yeah, I can tell people, hey, I work at a university, and maybe feel a nice little inner glow from that, but in actuality, I'm really thinking, hey, I work at a university and I should probably be sitting at my computer writing my dissertation right now. Instead I'm making a YouTube video. Don't tell my advisor. Okay, so if you have questions about this topic, things that I didn't address, or you have some comments or questions about things I did talk about, join in the comments below. Again, if you want to suggest other possible topics, by all means, I'm happy to entertain ideas that you suggest. And again, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. But first and foremost, thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you next week and in my future videos down the line. Thanks for watching. Peace.